Our scripture reading this morning is from Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 through 15. Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led his flock beyond the wilderness and came to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of a bush. He looked, and the bush was blazing, yet it was not consumed. Then Moses said, "I must turn aside and look at this great sight, and see why the bush is not burned up." When the Lord saw that he had turned aside to see, God called him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses." And he said, "Here I am." Then he said, "Come no closer. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground." He said further, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord said, "I have observed the misery of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry on account of their taskmasters. Indeed, I know their sufferings. And I have come down to deliver them from the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the country of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. The cry of the Israelites has now come to me. I have also seen how the Egyptians oppressed them. Now go, I'm sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" He said, "I will be with you, and this shall be a sign for you that it is I who sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain." But Moses said to God, "If I come to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' and they ask, 'What is his name?' What shall I say to them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am." He said further, "Thus you shall say to the Israelites, 'I am has sent me to you.'" God said to Moses, "Thus you shall say to the Israelites, 'The Lord, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you.' This is my name forever, and this is my title for all generations."
Katrina, thank you so much for reading a familiar story. Labor Day weekend. A weekend where it's not only a lot of mattress sales, did you notice that? Cookouts, last summer hooray, and of course tomorrow we're honoring people in the workforce. Do you know that God shows up on an ordinary day? It could be a Tuesday afternoon or Thursday morning. I do not really know what day it was when Moses was at work. And not only Moses, but remember the Christmas story, because I already got some Christmas mail in my mailbox at home. The shepherds, remember those shepherds? They were watching the flock at night, doing work. And God came and showed the angels, and we have the beautiful Christmas message. Jesus. When and where did he call his disciples? When they were at work, fishing. So watch out what could happen at the water fountain or at the coffee maker or wherever else you are at work, because you have no idea if God is showing up just out of nowhere. And just like Moses, if you let your life be interrupted, who knows where you're ending up? Ordinary day. Moses does what he has been doing for years. Every single day he was taking out his flock. Like every other day, he takes them out to graze because there's a good shepherd, that's what you do. But somehow, on that day, he thought, let me check out, because all this grass in front of me is already eaten. Or maybe over there, I wonder what is beyond that wilderness. I wonder what is there. The grass looks always greener on the other side, doesn't it? So he takes the sheep Just a normal, ordinary day, and he's a little curious. And then, right there, out of nowhere, is that bush, that shrub, ordinary shrub in flames. What does Moses do? Is he just running back home with all his sheep? Because after all, he has sheep to take care of. No. Moses looks even further and figures out, why does this bush not burn up? Because normally that's what fire does. So Moses takes time. Moses stops, Moses looks, and Moses asks questions. I like this Moses guy, because first of all, he does something different, because who says that life is boring goes on the other side. And do you know that whenever we, who know some Bible stories, whenever we hear the word mountain, our little ears ring, because we know this is going to be where God appears. Not that God doesn't appear anywhere else, but especially on mountains. But Moses doesn't know this yet. So we have the slight advantage of knowing a little bit more than the main character in the story. So Moses checks out this bush, wonders, and asked, why? What is happening here? Again, he could have easily just gone home. That would have been much easier for him and for the whole story which we have in the Old Testament. But it is not. Moses is curious. And then, out of the blue, God calls him. The first time God calls Moses, and he has a job description. Moses, she said, Moses, what do you do when you hear your name? You turn around. Same does Moses. And what does he say? He says, here I am. On Hebrew, Hineni. Thank you so much, Mr. Professor Baker, for giving me this little Hebrew lesson last week on the phone. Hineni, a wonderful word. So whenever you as a teacher or whenever you as a parent call your kids, ask them to say Hineni, very short word. Because it's not only here I am, because you have no idea where the kids are, but the kids say, here I am, ready for attention. Whatever you say, here I am. So, hineni, that's the word to know. It comes 7 times in the Bible. The first time it comes when Abraham is asked to sacrifice his son Isaac. Again, God calls Abraham, and what does he say? Hineni, right here. It's not because God can't see where he is. It's the meaning of, I am ready for your service. Like in roll calling class. You're not only saying, I am here sitting in my chair, but I am here, I'm trusting you to give me instructions. I am trusting you because I have a relationship with you, even though I don't know anything about it yet, Moses, because you've never met God before. I am ready for whatever you tell me to do. I am ready. Hineni, that is the word of the day. I'm ready for your service. I'm ready for whatever you say. And wouldn't you know it, here comes the big surprise. First of all, take your shoes off, holy ground, which Moses does, similar to what our Muslim friends do whenever they enter the holy place. You probably have seen there's a big gathering place full of shoes when our Muslim friends pray. Or similar to you maybe when you take off your baseball cap at a place of honor. Take off your shoes. This is a holy place. But much, much more comes because God says, I do not care about that burning bush. Did you notice that the burning bush is not even noticed anymore? It is not about the burning bush, people. It is about God telling to Moses, go and do something about the people who are crying, about the people who are suffering. And that bush, that was a nice special effect, which I did to get your attention. But the story is not about the burning bush. The story is about God calling Moses at work and telling, you better pay attention, guy, because there's the need out there. People are dying. Listen, and I want you, that big poster, remember that? I want you to do something about it. And Moses, like, hey, what do you mean? Me? Why me? And he has great excuses, I don't know, questions, hesitations, because we know whenever God calls you to do something, it is not going to be easy. It is not just going to be a small talk. It is hard work. Does God ask Moses, would you like to go? No. Does God ask Moses, hey, would it be convenient according to your schedule? Let's maybe 2 weeks from now? No. God just said, I want you to do something. And I don't care if you can't talk. I don't care any of your excuses. I want you to do something about the suffering and the dying of people. Because I have heard the cries and I have seen the tears. And the people, they do not need to know if God exists. They need to know that I, God, care, and that I, God, sent people like you, ordinary people, on an ordinary day to do the unordinary stuff. What does that mean? It's very easy. You just go. First of all, you say, Hineni, it's right here. Here I am. And then, of course, Moses wants to know, who is sending me? Who are you? What shall I tell the people? I am who I am. My name is not Bob or Bill or Susie. My name is I am who I am. The one I am, I have been who I have been. I will be who I will be. It is not right here on a Sunday morning at about 10:32. I am who I am, going through all times and all ages. I am the God of your ancestors, and I am the God of the people who are going to live, because I am the God of life. Not easy to do, but we are asked to do it. Do we sign up for it? No. All what we need to do is pay attention just like Moses. Let our lives be interrupted. Raise our hand, maybe or not, and say, Hineni, here I am. What about our world? We do not live in a world full of slavery. I am sure that Moses knew that people were enslaved. Moses had a job. Moses had a family. He probably knew about it. And he probably said, like, well, that's just life. There's nothing we can do about it. You know, it's just tradition. You know, all the people, it just is. Or maybe not. What about our neighborhoods? Just last weekend, 4 people in our neighborhoods lost their lives because of what other people carried. In the last 2 weeks, more than 6 of people lost their lives in our neighborhoods. And in the first 8 months, from January to August, more than 100 people in the greater Columbus area lost their lives because of what other people carried. God says, I hear the cries. I see the tears. And I'm sending you. This has to stop. Because just like in Egypt, thoughts and prayers are not going to do it anymore. In just another funeral. How many more? How many more? When is enough enough? And what are we going to do about it? Are we just going to say, just like Moses, well, you know what? It's just the world we live in. Or are we going to say, well, there are all these people, I just don't know what to do about it? Or are we just going to say, this is just tradition? What are we going to do about it? In our own neighborhoods, doing what people do. spending time going and have an ice cream or going to the movies, going to the store. People, if Moses says, "Here I am, send me," who are we and where is God going to send us? And when are we going to say enough is enough? Moses stopped during an ordinary workday. His life was interrupted because of a burning bush. And we all know it is not about the shrub. God just used the shrub to get Moses' attention. This is about people dying. And what are we going to do about it? Even on this beautiful Labor Day weekend. Hineni, that's the word. Here I am. And we all know God is never going to send us somewhere easy. That's not what God asks us to do. But the hard and difficult job. And we know that God is the God of our ancestors, and God will be the God of all the people still to come. And God is a God of the living. And who is just like Moses at work saying, "Hineni, here I am, send me."